Hey, what's going on, guys? So I try to do a verse of the day, a little 3-minute video on it when I open it up and read it. That way it's short, it's sweet. I keep it into the Facebook Reels and the same thing over on YouTube as well. Keeps it as shorts. And I do that because more than likely you might have clicked on it, okay? Those short ones people tend to click on, right? Because attention spans, and I know this. And as a teacher that is trained salespeople for years in customer service and all that, I also know that when you extend your meetings past 42 minutes, which was the magic number, you tend to lose people. But on the other side of it, it's like when you sit there and you listen to someone go on and on and on and on about something, like how much attention do you want to give them? And I feel like a lot of people are available online. I think a lot of people are available with videos. A lot of people are available with these shorts. A lot of people are available, between YouTube and social media and TikTok. And so I wanted to I've been focusing doing more of the Lord's work and sharing. And since teaching and talking and presenting and training is something I feel like the Lord gifted me with, I want to utilize that for His word. So now that I've got past 1:15 with you explaining that, please stay with me. I try to keep these videos when I discuss things a little bit farther. I like to keep them between 10 and 15 minutes. I think that's a good amount of time to try to impact some information for you versus a lot of times when we go to sermons at churches, things like that, we'll have pastors that'll go over multiple verses, multiple storylines. And I think we get in that old traditional way that if people are going to get up in the morning, they're going to get dressed, they're going to come all the way to the church, that you've got to have 15 to 20 minutes of worship time, and then you got to have 45 minutes to an hour of a preacher up there running their mouth over and over and over about something. And I think that's an old traditional way. Honestly, I'd rather see 30 minutes of worship to the Lord and a good 15 minutes to 20 minutes of a good educational part, something that could touch the heart of somebody. Just my thinking, man. Instead of taking up, 45 minutes to an hour of your time rambling on, I'd rather focus on one thing, something in that one thing from the Lord's word out of the Bible that we can learn from and kind of talk about that one verse or that one subject matter, kind of stick with it. But everyone's going to do it different. This is how I want to do it. And this morning, I felt like it's been a few days, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk about this verse a little more in depth because it stood out to me this morning, and I wanted to focus on it with you. So if you follow along with me in this verse, I want to talk to you about how I've seen it in the real world and what happens for it, because it's a great educational piece, and then what it really applies to walking in Christ or walking with the Lord. And again, if you missed the verse of the day with me this morning, this verse was Ephesians 5:1. So if you open up your Bible, open up your apps, or just listen to what I have to say and you don't want to look it up, no big deal. Totally up to you. But Ephesians 5:1. Imitate God. Imitate God. Therefore, in everything you do, because you are His dear children. All right. Imitate God. So imitation, what does that mean? Well, that's to act, do everything that you perform, your actions from your heart, your actions would be imitating God, right? And so for me, when I did sales training and I talked to folks, I want you to stop and think about this. In a leadership role, God is the ultimate leader, correct? He's the one above all. And me, I was a sales trainer, national sales trainer, those kind of things. I had people under me. And so how I acted, and this is why I showed up early. This is why I always dressed nice, wore my polos, my business attire, made sure my slacks were on, nice shoes, weren't all wrinkled. I set the example. Then I lived the example to them, right? Then as I trained, I performed how I trained. And how I talked about is what they saw. That was me. So I did that and I treated them and wanted them to be as leaders as well. And I did that so that they would imitate me. And I always joke, as leaders, we would joke, I want just 10 of me, right? Because no one else can do it as good as me. Well, how do you think God feels? He probably wants billions and millions of Him. And that's what He's saying in that verse. And so I want to have multiple people that act like I do so that my business can succeed. Well, same thing for God. He wants to see that we imitate and we act like Him so that His word, His heaven on earth, his ways, his creations, right? They all succeed and continue to grow. But here's what happens. How my sales reps would succeed with me is because I spent time with them. I educated them. They listened consistently. It was a daily thing, consistent, every morning, a daily training, a daily speaking, 15, 20, 30 minutes up in the classroom, going over something, impacting. I always had a goal to help impact all of them, but ultimately, as long as it would help impact one of them. And I generally based it on yesterday's struggles, what I learned that they dealt with yesterday, right? But here's the deal. Because I told them it's so valuable, you have to make sure you show up for these training sessions every morning, all right? These little pump-me-ups. Because the more that they spent time with me, the more that they saw that, the more they learned to imitate my actions, and imitate the training, the speak, the customer service, the language, right? All these aspects that would help them succeed so that they could be the best salesperson they could and be able to be the most successful and make a good income, right? So that's in the business aspect. And I know I'm using a comparison, and God's completely different from the aspect of the business, but it has the same guidelines to a degree. He's telling you, but here's what happens, okay? And I know it. When those sales reps spend less time with me, they start calling in, they can't come to training, they start to develop an attitude, they start to turn away from imitating my training or imitating me, they withdraw from it, and they stop imitating, they stop being successful at the level that they could have been, right? They stop spending time. And so what happens as Christians, we get busy. They got busy. We get busy in our daily lives. We get busy at working. We get busy with our kids. We are not in the Word. We are not learning. We are not fellowshipping with others. That's what I told them. I always said, a salesman left to their own devices will eventually fail. Well, a Christian, person that says they believe in God, that's left to their own devices, will eventually fail. This world will suck them in. Satan will come in. Issues and problems will arise that can weaken them and continue to weaken them. So they become like that, and they no longer imitate God, right? Well, we have to spend that time with God. We have to allow that time. We have to learn. How is God's expectations? What is God's will? How does he want us to live? You know, we run with these old preconceived notions of what we think it's like and what we've learned or what we've seen or what we've heard from people that we're supposed to act, right? What we're supposed to imitate as a Christian or a believer in this world. You know, do good unto others, gift, be kind, right? Love, right? There's these basics, right? But you wanted to truly walk the path that Jesus, because that was God. Jesus was God. He set an example on this earth, and he had 12 disciples. See, the same thing I did. I had 6, 7, 8 of these disciples in the business world that I would train up, or more, and I would train them up to imitate me. It's exactly what Jesus did with the disciples. He created them, he worked with them, he chose them, chose you, showed them, became an example for them, instructed them to imitate him, so that they could go with the greatest commandment into this world, right? Go into this world and make disciples of others. And then those others would make disciples of others and others and others as it would spread. And that's exactly what that was, right? So are you imitating Jesus? I mean, honestly, are you walking the same path that Jesus has walked? Are you imitating the guys, Paul and Simon and all the ones from the disciples, the 12, right? Are you imitating, minus the one? I don't think we want to imitate him. You know who I'm talking about. All right. But still, like, are you following? And that just shows human. I had the same thing. I could have 6 or 8, and it was always that Judas and the one that turned against me. I have them out there. That's just kind of human nature. See, they failed. They no longer imitated their father, or they no longer imitated their trainer, and then eventually they failed. Satan could get in. So it's spending that time with the Lord, consistently talking to the Lord, praying to the Lord, learning, whether it be a Bible verse of the day, listen to some yahoo like me, going to church, fellowship, men's group, women's groups, small groups, being involved, drawing closer to God so that you can imitate God. That's all he's saying. It's actually, hate to say it, but it is kind of that simple. It's just a discipline on your part to continue to draw and open up your heart and allow him to continue to speak to you, right? Allow him to continue to tell you, show you through his Holy Spirit that you can imitate him and you can walk in Jesus' footsteps. And you can do the absolute best to be as holy as possible. But again, life comes in, life plays a part, fights, sickness, illness, death, jobs, careers, money, financials, broken down cars. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. All these tools of the free will of life, the things that Satan will use to draw you off the path of imitating God on a daily basis. That's what happens. And then we stay out of his word. We end up missing church. We start drawing away like I did quite a few times in my lifetime. Continue to become that prodigal person that says over here, I love God, but he's no longer sitting on this shoulder right here. He's back there. He's all around trying to get me. But I'm just too busy with the world, and I'm no longer imitating God, and I'm imitating what? Myself? I mean, if you're not imitating God, you might as well say you're imitating Satan. You're imitating the devil. That's the way you got to look at it, man. If you're not going to imitate God, then you're the devil. You're of the devil. Like, let's face it. What else are you if you're not imitating God? Because that's what he asks, and that's what he wants, and that's what we're supposed to do. And he set the example. That book, that Bible, is the greatest training manual to live your life possible. Because it teaches you how to imitate God. And I'm not one to sit up here all holy as thou as me, and I'm better than you, because I actually am very bad about it. And for me, this helps me with my discipline by reading my verses days. And when I feel the Lord tell me to speak about something and to go more in depth something to share with people, helps me. Helps me to stay in that and to continue to walk that path to imitate God. Because it is not easy. Again, I understand. Things happen and you draw yourself away. But just like with myself, folks, a Christian left to his own devices will eventually fail. A Christian that says he loves God or she loves God that are left to their own devices will eventually fail. But when you're walking with Christ, you're utilizing his message and you're asking the Lord in and you're praying and you're with the Lord every chance you can and you're doing everything, he will naturally put on your heart to imitate him. It's happened to me. I've had a couple times, I'll be transparent and honest. I had a couple times already in the last week where I wanted to say something human about another human. And we came from a human nature about this person, right? It was like this instinct to call out about their, well, I don't want to go too much in depth, but it wasn't nice. It wasn't what God would do. It wasn't what Jesus would do, right? And I caught myself. The Lord showed me in my heart, revealed to me before I took that step outside of and represented Satan and didn't represent God. Because that's not what Jesus would do. That's not what God would do. So in that moment, I was about to represent Satan. Think about that. I was about to imitate Satan just a few days ago. That human nature part of me, that sinful nature, was just about to imitate Satan instead of imitating God. And I saw it. And a couple times that happened to me in the last week or two. But the Lord was there because I draw closer to him and I try to imitate him and he allows me and helps me. He's helping me with my cursing so much better because it's one of my major things that I struggle with is cursing. Saying words that I shouldn't say out loud. It's not what God would do. It's not what Jesus would do, right? And it's not what example I need to be setting for my kids. I love the example that my wife and I are setting now, especially me, I'm going to say it, guys, kind of following the lead of my wife. When it comes to praying every night with our kids, holding hands. I was laughing. I thought it was cute and different. We've never really done that. And my wife's like, well, you've never really done verses of the days either, have you? Things change. Things happen. But we're like holding hands, praying right before we go to bed. My 11-year-old daughter, who draws closer to God than I have been, big time, she's a prayer warrior, is like, I could see it. She's excited. She's loving on me. She was excited to hold my hand. She was sitting there. She wants to imitate, like a child wants to imitate their parents. She wants to imitate me. She wants to imitate my wife, because that's natural. She wants to imitate God. So why are we not like children wanting to imitate God? And I saw that. I want to be that good example to my daughter. But you know where I get it from? God. As the leader, as the one above, If I imitate them and they teach me, then guess what? The one that follows me, my children, raise them up right, and they shall not depart from it, but they can imitate me, right? So hopefully I drove this message home. It's been about 15 minutes, but you got to ask yourself, in every action, every moment, in every part, when you get angry, when you get frustrated, when you're about to say something mean about somebody or any of those things, are you imitating God today? Those actions, those choices, those decisions, those thoughts, are they imitating God? And are you drawing closer so that you imitate God? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you learning? Are you reaching out? Are you inviting him in? Imitate God. So I just wanted to go a little more in depth because that was a big one for me. And remember this, there's always someone watching. There's always someone watching you because they want to imitate you. Whether it's a child, even your adult children, your grandchildren, cousins, friends, employees at work. They're all watching. And they're going to imitate you. If you're a boss, you're a leader. What kind of boss are you? What kind of leader are you? And who are you imitating? Are you imitating God? Or are you imitating Satan? You know, think about it. Anyway, love you guys. Just wanted to put a little 15, 16 minute word out there. Might help you today. Imitate God as he commanded. Have a good day.